Communism is the middle ground. What else is going on with you? What's new, buddy? How's life? What else is going on?
I actually had a couple of friends. The weather was right here in Winnipeg. What was it? Thursday night. Weather was right. Went for a nice long walk. Went to one of those kind of roadside burger joints.
Perfect. A little
burgers,
greasy,
hot dogs, the chili dog kind of thing.
Oh, yes.
Grabbed some nosh, went to a park right nearby, sat there on a park bench, socially distant, of course, and enjoyed a meal together. I had this awesome hot dog. You know, that the kind of dog that has some snap, a little snap and right amount of chili sauce, not too much, not too little. Right strength of mustard, right amount of onions, just a great hot dog. This is the first time I've broken bread in proximity of actual other human beings since October. So I'm still kind of on a high, man.
That's awesome. That's beautiful. Congrats to you, dude. It is sort of nice to return to some of those things that we like to call normal, Hopefully not all of the things that we call normal. Okay. Really good to be with you today. Hopefully nothing breaks in the middle of the stream. Otherwise, I think we're ready to begin here. Are you ready, buddy? Are you ready?
Let's do it.
I'm excited. All right, so welcome to LeftFLIX and Chill with Rob Kristjansson and iDanSimpson. That's me. This is the no spoilers leftist review show that no one asked for, but you can't live without. That's right. We record live, and then we post to YouTube later, okay? And then, of course, you should know that we ask 3 central questions in the show. Number 1, does the film pass the Bechdel test? And I believe we have some videos to go over that. You do a little TikTok these days. Is that right, sir?
I'm getting into the TikTok thing.
TikTok.
Yes, sir.
TikTok.
Doing the TikTok.
Yes, sir. Number 2, does the film have class consciousness? This is a leftist show, of course. And number 3, which is a little bit separate, I believe, from these 2 first questions. They can be related, but doesn't have to be. Do we think this film is worth your time? Sometimes we do think it's worth your time, even if it doesn't pass the first 2 tests. All right. So, Rob, really good to be with you. Each Sunday, you and your friend Jim on your show on YouTube, which is called Jim and Rob Overanalyze, right? You do a review, and this week, y'all reviewed Wolfwalkers.
We did.
Yeah. All right. First of all, let's talk about how you got there. Why did you pick the show to review? And let's go from there.
Yeah, let me set it up for you. You bet. Yeah. We chose it in part as we ramp up to the Oscars. It has been nominated for best animation feature, amongst others. So that was one of the reasons. The other reason was we had been doing I think we've had a nice run of some pretty solid films, but a few of them were real bummers, and I wanted to watch a cartoon. Sometimes you need to cleanse the mental, the storytelling, the story hearing palette. So that was part of the reason we got there. And it's on streaming, because now we're starting to get some films coming out in the theaters that Jim and I still can't go to. So that's why we chose it.
Sometimes it's sort of nice to step away from the intellectual snack table and then have some chili or a burger with your friends.
Yeah, exactly. That was a part of a multi-day theme. You bet.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you want me to kind of quickly set it up and then we'll get into the tests? All right. Okay, for my IMDb, here's the log line for the film. A young apprentice hunter and her father journey to Ireland to help wipe out the last wolf pack. But everything changes when she befriends a free-spirited girl from a mysterious tribe rumored to transform into wolves by night. This film was produced by, it's got to be one of the absolute best company names. It's called Cartoon Saloon.
Cartoon Saloon.
They did another film that people might recognize is called The Book of Kells. They did that a few years ago. I believe it was also Oscar nominated. It's directed by Tom Moore and Ross Stewart. That's kind of a standard thing in animation where you have two directors, somebody directing animation, somebody directing talent and story.
Okay.
It's written by Will Collins, based on a story by the two directors. It stars two young women, Honor Neefsey and Eva Whitaker. And then it also has a pretty solid supporting cast, including Sean Bean of all people.
He sounds great.
So yeah, there's the setup to the film, man.
Awesome. So I'm really happy you picked this too. And we actually, right before the stream, me and the chat, we were watching. We watched the trailer. Of course, I don't think we're going to be able to do that here, just because of copyright issues with YouTube. But and then we watched this. We didn't watch the whole thing. It was an hour-long chat video on YouTube that someone did about the Cartoon Saloon and helped us to whet our palate.
Get your head in the right
for this.
space.
Yeah, of course, without giving away any spoilers. But it really made me regret not having prepared for this week. Of course, this is the show where you get to come by and tell me about all of your favorite films and films that you're watching. And every now and then I get to watch along with you, or watch before we stream. Unfortunately, I didn't do that this week. I didn't do my homework, and I regret it. It looks really good. Sean Bean sounds great. Everyone sounds great.
That's an interesting comment you make there.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into it.
Okay.
First and foremost, so shall we start at our first test, the Bechdel test?
Of course, the Bechdel test. Go for it.
Absolutely. Like these two young women, it's I'd say half the film is just their relationship as they run around in the woods, et cetera, and yeah, even her. Honor Neefsey, the character Robin from England, her dad, another important relationship is the relationship with her dad, but they're not talking about him a lot. So yeah, it definitely passes the Bechdel test with flying colors.
Cool. You have a couple of videos, Rob, that explain the Bechdel test. Maybe we want to go over those for maybe people who don't know what they are, what it is.
Yeah, you bet.
This comes from your TikTok.
Two TikToks.
I love this. I love that you're doing this. This is really cool. Let's bring this in here.
I'm Rob, co-host of...
Sorry, pro streamer.
I'm Rob, co-host of the Jim and Rob Overanalyze Movies video podcast. One of the questions we ask about every flick we look at on the show is, does it pass the Bechdel test? Now here in part 1, I talk about what this test is and where it comes from. In part 2, I go into why we, two middle-aged white guys, ask it. Let's get started. The Bechdel or Bechdel-Wallace test, named after cartoonist Alison Bechdel and her friend Liz Wallace, to whom Bechdel gives credit for the original idea, asks if there are at least two women characters who talk to each other about something other than a man. It was originally in one of Bechdel's Dykes to Watch Out For comic strips. I don't have permission to print it here, but look it up. It's goddamn funny. Stay tuned for part 2, why Jim and I asked the question.
Okay.
So we got Cartoon Saloon and then Dykes to Watch Out For.
Yeah.
Two awesome titles, just
I know.
mic drop titles.
I know. Makes me think LeftFLIX and Chill need some work. We'll work on it.
Welcome to part 2.
Here's part 2.
Why do Jim and I, two middle-aged white guys, ask if a movie we're looking at on our podcast passes the Bechdel test? 3 reasons, actually. 1, we're two middle-aged white guys. If we didn't ask, there's a good chance we wouldn't notice. 2, there's research that indicates it's a predictor of quality, which makes sense, really. If the filmmakers took enough care with the film that it passes this test, we've got a better chance that we're going to watch something with more realistic characters in a more realistic world. 3, like reading the ingredients on a food package, this test gives us a better idea of the kind of movies and television we're consuming. Anyway, that's it. Fly, be free.
Be free. Like a bird, so I can fly far, far, far away. Awesome. I'm glad you did that. Yeah, and got a couple of comments there in the chat that could be important to you as well. Passing the test isn't indicative of how well women are represented in any specific work. It's an indicator for the active presence of women in the entire field of film. And studies indicate that films that pass the test perform better financially than those that don't. I like to bring that up.
That's actually what that's exactly what I'm saying. It's as a predictor of quality. And I mean, it's kind of a looser connection, but I do. Yeah. More people go. Film depends so much on word of mouth. You get better sales because people are going home and saying, you should see this.
Yeah. Excellent.
So yeah.
So it passes the Bechdel test, and of course we sometimes bring up other tests on the stream. Did you want to touch on it?
You bet. The Reframe project is another kind of more detailed on the production side of things, whether or not there are women and women of color in what are called above the line positions, producer, director, that kind of thing. Now, you do have 2 women in leads, so it does meet the minimum bar. That said, will it get a Reframe stamp? I would bet against it. You have to dive rather deep into their production, their crew, etc. They've got to apply. I don't think it'll make it, but that still doesn't take away the fact that it is a story about 2 young women. Like there's some value in here that I am actually kind of setting you up for a bit of a twist, but
okay.
It is a union-made production as best as I can tell, which is always good. And the only thing, on the class consciousness, no. I'd even no. Oh God, no. It's interesting. It's set in a time. It's 1650 Ireland. This is when Oliver Cromwell, who is actually a character in this movie, he is conquering, basically putting down a rebellion in Ireland. Because yes, while the parliamentarians, because this is during the post-Civil War, where they had already killed Charles I, I think, or maybe Charles II. A king died. A king was beheaded, and they certainly wanted freedom of conscience and freedom, for English Protestants, not so much for Irish Catholics. So even the town it's set in, he had actually laid siege to for a while. Wow. And you would not know that from watching this film. Not at all. They present the townsfolk as basically either ignorant of everything or just a mob, out to kill all wolves and cut down and burn down all trees. And it's like, what? So, yeah, it's not a class-conscious film. And I don't think that's what the filmmakers were going for. And you know what? Missed opportunity, I'd say.
There you go.
Especially from Irish filmmakers. It's like, really? This is your villain and you're not going to talk about the actual context?
Yeah. So they've made Carl sad.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
Poor Carl. Okay. Our third question. Is it worth your time?
Were you able to were you able to grab that clip? I sent you a link so you could download it, because I think it...
Oh, really?
It kind of captures... Jim and I did not agree on this movie.
Really? Let me see what I can do really quickly. Shouldn't be too hard. Let's just download this Big Daddy, and then we'll move on from there. Yeah.
What did you see? Meanwhile, did you watch anything over the weekend? You and your partner? What did you guys check out?
Yes or no?
Oh,
sorry, one moment there. That was my fault. Did we watch anything? You know what? We always do. I'm not remembering what we've been watching lately. It's been okay.
Nothing super on your brain.
I can't remember what it was. I honestly can't remember. Some documentary type thing. Okay. Give me a moment to pull this up. I'm going to have to do a tiny bit of trickery. Let's come back to the show. Slide that in. Perfect. All right. Okay, so is it worth your time? Let's check out your clip from Jim and Rob Overanalyze.
So is that a yes or a no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a yeah.
Okay. I'm going to say it's...
Let me try that again. All right, let's play this clip. Is it worth your time from Jim and Rob over Analyze? What do y'all think?
My
So
Edward
that's, is that a yes
scissor
or a no?
hands out there.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a yeah.
Tentative.
Okay. I'm going to say it's a nah. I'm on the other side of the
Tentative nah.
line. You know, I could...
Really?
Yeah, but I just want to shut my kids up. It's like, I guess.
Okay.
My
So
Edward
that's... Is that a yes
scissor-
Okay, so no, y'all didn't like it.
Well, I didn't like Jim. It does have a charm. I like the way Jim qualified it. It does have a charm. He's saying, listen, if you're tired of watching standard animation fare, you want to see something different. Because it's a very pretty film. It's got a unique, or maybe not too unique. It's got an interesting animation style. It's a lot of, it looks like pencil drawings. It's 2D animation. It at times even uses kind of like video game references, like whether it be a top down or a side scroller at times. It's kind of neat. Its art is neat and it's detailed and it's all those things. And it is charming and it doesn't get into shtick. Like both Jim and I were worried when we first saw it or before we saw it. It's like, hope we don't, you know how Irish culture can be a lot of, oh, O'Malley and my Lucky Charms and, you know, and river dancing.
Right.
They don't do that at all, which is really nice. Yeah. That said, Jim, the charm lasted enough that he could give it a yeah. Myself, by the end of the second act, I'm like, this is irritating me. It wore out its welcome. I want this movie. Oh my God, there's still a whole other act.
Okay.
But
I wonder if I'm wearing off on you.
Universally acclaimed, though, which I do not get. I almost want to dig into the, you know, sometimes when everybody says yes, and you kind of dig into the reviews, and you're kind of going, well, it's a pretty soft yes, but it still counts as a tomato, not a splat. Yeah. You know, so you're like, did everyone just kind of went, well, it's pretty sure, you know?
Maybe.
That they're riding on the experience of the filmmakers or something. It had a lot of story problems. Some things where it's like, well, which do you want? Is it about the girl in a relationship with her dad, or is it about the girl in the relationship with this other kid, or is it about the other kid and her mother, or fucking pick one, you know, pick, and its themes. You have a really hard time telling. I could not tell you definitively, oh, this is an urban versus, you know, rural, hey, let's respect the land kind of thing. There's a little bit of that, but then they kind of wander away from it. Like what's the movie about? That's a tough one to pull out. It's some of these other films where you might go, to use as an example, one you and I didn't agree on last week, you could still kind of get an idea. I think I could still tell you today what that movie was about. This one, I'm like, I still have a hard time, and I don't think I'll remember it in another few weeks. I won't be going, oh, and there was that moment and this, unless the parts I was making fun of. And we did have, you know what? I can actually say, man, even watching a bad film or a mediocre film is still good because you get to kind of get into it. And it does make for some of the best chats we ever have. We had a couple of people on our chat, like join us in the chat last night, who are also YouTube film reviewers, and they were shocked, I say, that we didn't like it. And it makes for a good show, you know?
Yeah.
And we're not dicks to each other or anything like that. You know, but so there you go, man.
There you go.
And there's my hot take on that.
No, I loved it. I'm just scared. I'm wearing off on you. It looked like a movie that I thought looked good, and I think I have good taste in being able to look at a trailer and being able to tell whether or not it's going to be a movie that I'll actually like, aka whether or not it's a good movie. You know, if I can go ahead and just own what is and what isn't a good movie, which I don't, of course.
It
but yeah,
does have a lot of promise.
Yeah.
The first 10 minutes are solid. Like you have every right after the trailer to expect good.
So they got me.
You know, they did their job. They convinced you it was good and worth watching. And again, you'll see, like, Jim and I we straddle the good bad line.
Okay.
I'm on one side, but Jim is on the other. So you might find if you watch it, you still have Apple TV, eh? Because it is free on that.
I never got it yet. I haven't gotten it.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, however you may source that film,
Yeah.
you may find that you're more on the Jim side. Myself, I was like, what the? Because once a film is past a certain point for me, it's done. Like, done. I'm like, okay, because I now start to look at the film harder than I was before. I'm starting to go, is her accent changing from English to Irish? Why am I thinking about that? Because the film has pissed me off now. So, does that make sense?
Yeah, I hear you. I really do. I really do. Wolfwalkers. I'm on the fence. I'm not sure if I'm going to see it after all. I'm going to take your advice. I trust you.
You know what? Well, thank you very much, sir. Especially given that we have disagreed on a couple of films.
Yeah, it's fun.
I'm glad that you remain trusting me. That's very kind of you, my friend.
All right. Do we want to put the wrap up on Wolfwalkers? Anything else we need to say? Any questions from the chat about Wolfwalkers for Rob or me? Of course, I can't give it a thumbs up or down. I didn't see it. I thought I wanted to see it, and now I think I may have been convinced not to. Yeah, we'll give Chad a couple moments to come up with an idea. Otherwise, we'll move on.
You bet.
All right.
I will say this, like, again, to sing its praises. It is nice to see something that isn't. I think Soul, far superior film. Far superior film.
So good.
It is really
so
good, and has so much more meat on the bones. Not perfect, but still solid flick. But you do kind of go like there is that. And I think if we went further, I was saying maybe you're just bored of Hollywood animation. And that's not a bad thing. Like, sometimes you just need to look at something different, something that challenges your eye, that it's not necessarily meeting your preconceived, Hollywood notions of what animation is. And, if you're looking for that and your kids won't shut up, what the hell? Slap this on and, they'll like it. And you'll at least get like a visual, I don't want to call it a feast, but just a really good meal. Maybe that's, so there you go. That on the plus side. Right. I wish, though, again, you can, like, in this terrible time, like Cromwell, one of his great quotes, and I'm going to bugger it up a little, but I'm pretty sure he got the gist. He was like, I would rather have, the royalist forces, royalist Catholics take over than the Scots take over and beat me. But I'd rather have the Scots take over than the Irish. This is how, like, in one of his, he ordered to be killed, 3,000 enemy troops. And many inhabitants of one town took over. Like, he was a bastard, just a real bastard. And instead, they've got this weird, almost Gaston-like caricature of just some crazy hard ass. But at the moments he gets moments of piety where it's like, oh, that's interesting. They could have really done something with that. Because Cromwell is a fascinating historical figure. As much as he was a bastard, he was a bastard of his time. He was a true believer. He, even some of the pushback from the parliamentarians was, well, when are we for kings, right? It's like, Well, we got one headless person that may have been worth it. The many inhabitants, especially because they're Irish, less so.
There we have it.
Yeah. Anyway, before we talk about next week's movie,
Yeah.
does anyone?
I think we have a question. He's the antagonist, they're asking.
Yes, Cromwell, he is.
All right.
And what's interesting is the town it's set in was besieged by him, and and they had a bit of a brokered deal. So it was besieged, and then it did surrender. There were certainly tensions. You wouldn't notice that, though. And yeah, it's kind of a weird one because he's more of a caricature of a religious zealot who's going to say you don't have to fear wolves and you're all peasants with your stupid superstitions, and I'll show you we can tame this wolf, we can tame the outside world. And it's like, okay, well, is that what we're talking about then? But we kind of aren't. I don't know. The mess of a story. Did not fulfill the promise of the premise, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah. Did you miss a debate? No, Ryan. We're just chatting about, we were just wrapping up our chat about the film that we were reviewing today, Wolfwalkers. And Rob was giving us the rundown there. Yep. All right. Well, up next, or did we have something else to say?
No, I think that was about it. Maybe talk about next week's movie. Next week's homework.
Yeah, homework. Yeah, I got to do my homework this week. Another round. Okay, what's this?
I think, other than the teetotalers, you know what? And other than the teetotalers, I'm assuming most people enjoy a drink with friends. This is a movie about Mads Mikkelsen and some friends having another round. Foreign film, also nominated for an Oscar. Okay. It looks like a lot of fun. I mean, heck, look at that poster. How could you not want to? Doesn't that guy look like somebody you want to be hanging with? Until
it's
you
a little
don't.
early, but yeah. It's a little early. That's how you know it's right on time.
Well, Perfect. It's European time, right? So it's perfectly reasonable where he is right now.
Another round. Okay. How do people watch it? How can I watch it?
You can see it on, for crying out loud, I even answered this question. 1 second. Bear with me, my friends.
That's fine. No, it's fine. We'll edit this out.
I have actually found, finally, a reliable
Prime Video
website. Heck. You get it on Vimeo, of all things. So Vimeo, Google Play, and iTunes. Google Play / YouTube and iTunes. So, it's out there.
Another round.
Find it, watch it, and looking forward to coming back next Monday and chatting about it, brother.
That would be really good, yeah.
What else am I working on? There is, let me ask you this and the chat this. I really did enjoy doing those 2 little 1 minutes on the Bechdel test. And I'm thinking of doing the same for a couple of the other things we talk about. Why, here we look at class consciousness. How do I define it? And why do we ask this of a movie? And so things like that. And I'm wondering if people think that's something they'd like to see a bit more of, these little bite-sized, hey, this is why we do this. Because for me and especially myself, one of my passions is about bringing in, without being a buzzkill, bringing in politics into the way we look at movies. Because I think it is so important, right? And to get into the why and the how to, empower ourselves. To intellectually arm ourselves, to empower ourselves, that we can be interpreters of our own narratives. That we can look at these films and kind of go, hey, I'm enjoying this movie, but I'm also getting played here, and I got to be careful of the message, and that I can do that. I don't need an expert out of the New York Times or the Globe and Mail to interpret whether this is good or not and why it's important.
I'm really happy that we ask these questions personally. I'm happy that we do the Bechdel test. I'm happy that we dig into some of these other tests that you bring up, whether or not it's made by, whether it's not it's union made, whether or not what's that other big test that you mentioned from time to time?
The reframe one.
The reframe
which
test.
obviously means I better do one on that, and
Yeah.
why? Because it's hard to get your head around.
Honestly, I think this is really good. I love sort of like incorporating these tests into our show, but I also love how it's separate from our final question, which is, do we think it's worth your time watching? It doesn't have to necessarily pass these tests. It doesn't have to be fucking, woke and feminist and class conscious. It just got to be a good movie sometimes. But I do like to be aware of these things as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
Like it's, you know what, can you enjoy this? Yes, no. There are some where you're kind of going, and maybe we get, you know what, eventually we're going to do one of these, does it hold up? And it's going to fail, even though it's a good movie. And I'm looking forward to having that chat with you.
We'll have movies that are watchable, that fail the tests, and we'll probably have movies that pass the tests that probably suck, that we would be like, don't watch this.
Oh, here's a
I'm
perfect
excited. This should
example
be
for
fun.
the Bechdel test before we walk away. The Trial of Chicago 7. Another Oscar-nominated film.
Yeah.
Aaron Sorkin, Baron Sacha Baron Cohen. Like a great cast and everything. It fails on so many levels. Bechdel test, which blows my mind because it's 1960s, 68.
And it's a series. There's so much time. Come on, fit it in there.
No, this was just a movie. We're not talking about
it was the movie. I'm confused. I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, just the movie. But it's still a great film. But it fails that test. Meanwhile, I know this shocks you. Monster Hunter, starring Mila Jovovich, directed by Paul W.S. Anderson.
Yeah.
It passes the Bechdel test and is less lauded. May not have quite the universal acclaim that the others. So the Bechdel test is a predictor, not a guarantor.
Perfect.
And we're allowed to have multiple things going on in our head, but we should at least be aware. And then there may be some times where we're going, this fails so many ideological tests, like, and it pains me to say this, Die Hard. I am a middle-aged white guy. I remember when that movie came out. Even now, we did a Does It Hold Up? And it's like, damn, it's so good.
It's really good. It
holds up. Such a good movie.
So good.
But watch it again.
It's pure candy.
Then think Black Lives Matter, and you'll go, because it is.
John McClane's
80s,
a cop.
It's 80s propaganda.
Yeah.
Well, heck, not just John McClane's a cop. The other cop, his whole character arc.
Yeah.
His character arc ends. It's resolved. He's free after he shoots somebody else. Because at the beginning, he shot a kid. That's his whole why he's just kind of on working a desk and he's not a beat cop anymore. Is because I shot a kid. I thought he was carrying a gun. It's like, oh, wait. Apparently, this excuse for police has been around a lot longer than the last 10 years. And he's resolved, his arc is ended on a positive note when he's able to shoot another man. Blam! It's like, that's effed up. Like, that's effed up now. Like, we watch it now, and it's like, oh, that's not good. Gets better. The McClane's spouse, who starts using her maiden name, they're going through some trouble, mostly because he can't get over the fact that his wife is having a success in another city. He even accepts that and acknowledges, I was the bad guy here.
Yeah. She
ends up total reversal because he killed a bunch of guys. That's effed up. We couldn't make a movie like that now. Like, or if we did, it would be rightly reviled. So it's one of those things where at the end, we're like, I was like, I can't recommend this unless you're a film student, because it is still, it's actually an important bit of film. Like, it changed action.
Okay.
It really did change that genre.
Yeah.
You see action films now where it's like, Die Hard did it, and Die Hard did it better in the 80s, like,
Yep.
so you do get into those things, but at least I just, I love film. I love film. I love talking about film. I love talking about film with you guys.
It's awesome. I will chime in really, really quickly here. My partner and I just watched all of the Die Hards. We had a Die Hard streamathon. It was so fucking fun. We loved the films. It's like candy. It's really fun to watch. But it didn't quite age well in certain ways. But I'll still say it's still worth your time. It's still worth a watch. It's fun as fuck.
Well, it's a contradictory film, right? So think, in Die Hard, they have not one, not two, not three, four, count them, four African-American actors who are different from each other. There's one where and if it was just him as the homeboy, Scooter, or whatever the hell his name was in the car, you'd be like, okay, yet another offensive street African male street guy. But he isn't the only one. And so because all four are truly different, heck no, not 4, 5. I forgot another guy, one of the bad guys, but they're different. They're not stereotyped. It's like, wow, this is a woke effing flick from 1988, if memory serves. Like, five, and they felt real. They were different. They were well written. Somebody took care with every one of those characters and said, this is not going to be just your standard. And so even though they have minimal screen time each person, you feel like they're all real, and heck, there's films that can't manage to do that now.
There you go. Rob.
Brother.
It's been a good week.
Brother Simpson.
Good chat. Brother Kristjansson. We, Comrade Kristjansson, Comrade K, we'll let you go. Thank you so much for dropping by,
brother.
For sharing your experience with talking about this week's film, The Wolfwalkers, and for giving us your review and your rundown of everything there. I appreciate you coming by and sharing your opinions and knowledge and wisdom, and it's always a pleasure. So thanks for dropping by.
Love coming by. Love hanging out with you. Thank you very much for bringing me on this weekly thing. Look forward to it every week. It's a great way to start my week, brother.
All right, bro. We'll look forward to talking to you next week, comrade.
You bet.
All right. Peace now.
Ciao.
Ciao. Ciao. That. Wait. How did you redeem that? Hey, YouTube. You're watching a clip from my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/iDanSimpson, where you can follow for free and subscribe for only $5 a month. Thanks for watching.